Welcome to the Store Manager Academy. We are in week 2, lesson 7. I'm going to help you learn how to manage the different generations, the different age groups that you are probably managing right now in your business. I remember when I was a brand new manager and I had employees that were younger than me, my same age, and a lot older. I had employees from ages, I believe, 17 all the way up to 70, the first store that I was managing. And I went in there with the mentality of just kind of a blanket mentality. I was the best at sales, merchandising, the best at customer service, and I was going to make my store be as good as me. I wanted every employee to be just like me. Do you think that got me very far? No, in fact, it set me back several months because I lost great employees. I had tenured workers that had decades of experience in the industry with the company I was with, and I lost some of them. Why? Because I went in there too headstrong. I thought what I did to be successful is what they need to do if they want to be successful. But I failed to recognize some of these employees didn't want to grow their career anymore. They were happy with the part-time hours they were getting. They were happy in the role that they were in. And I didn't understand that. I thought everybody just wanted to move up and make more money. But money's not a motivation for everyone. Getting promoted is not a motivation for everyone. It was for me, but it's not for everyone, right? And maybe it is for you, maybe it's not. My guess is if you're watching this training, you do want to grow your career. You want to grow your skills. And the direct result of growing your skill set and growing your career is that monetary value, that increase. But also comes with that a lot of responsibility, and you're able to help a lot of people along the way. You just need to understand how to help a lot of people along the way. You need to understand the generational differences and how you can effectively lead them to their goals, and their goals are going to help you accomplish yours. So let's talk about the different generations. I'll keep it bullet point because I'm sure you've heard a lot of it before, so I'll keep it real simple. Let's start with baby boomers, since they're the last ones in the workforce. Most of them are retired. Most of them are getting out of the workforce, so you're not going to deal with a whole lot of baby boomers. Some of you won't deal with them at all unless they're your direct supervisor or probably an executive VP in your company was more than likely a baby boomer. And just to tell you a little bit about baby boomers, they are competitive, very competitive, which is interesting, right? You would think someone at that age wouldn't be competitive. They are. It was drilled into them. They love competition. They also believe in a hard day's work and getting paid exactly what they were promised for that hard day's work. Nothing more, nothing less. Pretty simple, right? They don't need a pat on the back every time they reset a fixture or received a box. They don't. They do like appreciation, but it does not need to be every hour, every project that's completed. Gen Xers is the next generation. They were those who were born between 1965 and 1977. Gen Xers are also, a lot of them are in management, leadership positions. A lot of them are going to be in those executive roles, so you need to understand that. They have a lot of experience. But if you are managing some of them in your workforce, understand if you're a 18 to 28-year-old, kid, they'll call you a kid, coming in to manage that store and manage everyone there, they're going to be very skeptical of you. They're going to be skeptical of your motives. They're going to be skeptical of your background and everything under the tree, right? Why are they so skeptical? Well, they lived through the 80s, the 90s, and they lived through the dot-com crash. I mean, they lived through Amway, all those multi-level marketing companies that went boom to bust, and everybody lost their money. They lived through the many stock market crashes. They're extremely skeptical, so it's going to take a little bit more time to earn their trust, but it's not impossible. In fact, when you earn a Gen Y's or Gen X trust, they are going to have your back, and they're going to really help you just build a strong team of high performers. And they're going to be some of your best high performers, I'll tell you that right now. But when it comes to percentages in the workforce, I'd say Gen X, at least in traditional retail that many of you are in, are probably around that 5 to 10% range of your total staff. Now in management range, they're much higher. I would say they're probably in the 40% 40% of Gen Xers, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I would just, based on my working knowledge, I'd say about roughly 40% of your upper management are Gen Xers. Now, the next generation, Generation Y, the millennials. Most of you watching this are millennials. Not all of you, but a lot of you. This is going to be the largest workforce in history. So that's going to be the majority of the people that you manage, the people that you work with, are going to be millennials. So you've got to understand how to manage them. It's not a one-size-fits-all either with millennials. Some of them most of them like to be managed by technology, but some of them don't. So you've got to understand that. But I'm going to break down I'm going to talk more about millennials through this, but I just want to just bullet point talk to you about how to manage the overall organization, all the different age groups. So number one, don't just blanket the stereotypes. Don't just blanket baby boomers, Gen Xers, or millennials based on the information I told you. Because there are different communication styles within the different generations. So you need to understand the communication styles, which we're going to cover in another module that'll help you fully understand how to manage the different generations, as well as managing people and being effective at it. Managers must be able to take care of the older workers, not think of them as a disadvantage to the organization. You know, I made the mistake when I took a territory over, and there was an 80-year-old in a key position that acquired speed, efficiency, required to be on their feet literally the entire 8 to 9 hour shift. All they had was a lunch in between that 8 and 9 hour shift, and they had to be very fast and efficient at what they do. So I was really concerned because here's an 80-year-old, which has been with the organization for a couple decades. They're in this key position. I was really worried, and that was on me, because what I didn't realize is this baby boomer was extremely competitive and worked hard, believed in a good day's hard work, like we just talked about with the baby boomers. I didn't understand that. And so when I went in there, I was just blown away. My expectations were just blown out of the water, or lack of expectations. This employee was literally the fastest and most efficient, hardworking individual for that position that I've ever ran into. And I ran into a lot, a few dozen. And this employee was the best out of all of them. And this employee was 80 years old. So do not think your older workers are a disadvantage to your organization. You can have a lazy, tired, inefficient 20-year-old as well as an 80-year-old. It's really up to that individual. So do not put a blanket disadvantage on any age group, period. Now, something you do need to understand is many employees, or what you should do with your many employees, is you need to focus on the results and not focus on how it gets done, on how they got there. If this result over here is what I'm looking for and we achieved it as a team, do not nitpick the way they got there. I know you probably have certain efficiencies set in place, and your company has certain efficiencies set in place on how to accomplish this project. You do step A, B, C, D, and that's how it's done, and that's how we've always done it. Do not think that's the best way for everyone. Every person's wired just a little differently, right? So that process, A, B, C, D, may not make sense to an individual. It's just they can't work within the bounds of that A, B, C, D process. And so they have a different process. And a lot of times it's going to be more efficient because that's just how they're wired. So be flexible on how they get the work done. As long as they're getting the results that you're looking for, don't be so hard on the way it gets done. Now, if you don't get the results and they're changing the process, and then you see there's no results, okay, let's stick with A, B, C, and D. Let's try that first. Let's prove it right or wrong. And that's the best way to explain it to someone that you see is teetering off the path of the norm, right? Next, you need to accommodate different learning styles. Baby boomers may be, more traditional. They like, the static training methods like PowerPoints and the handbooks. Even some Gen Ys appreciate the PowerPoints. and then you look at your millennials, your younger workers, they may gravitate towards, technology, interactive forms of learning, being managed with technology versus just you walking up and telling them what to do. Maybe they want an app with the instructions and maybe some videos and documents loaded. There's a great app called Trello, Trello. It's a great workforce management app to manage your team. I highly recommend you download that and check it out. It's great to manage your millennial and Gen Y or Gen X workforce. Most importantly, out of all the generations, keep your team engaged. Find out what engages your team. Sometimes with, opening up the office, breaking down the barriers, getting rid of the rigid management structure, giving, encouraging open collaboration, things like that can really help your team get engaged, especially millennials and Gen X. Toss the routines out. Experts say millennials and Gen Xers dislike the formality of regular meetings, especially when there's nothing to discuss. So limit the meetings. The only meeting I recommend you do daily is a morning huddle and evening huddle, and I've already talked to you of the importance of that. But if you don't have anything to share in those huddles, if you're just uncomfortable with it, you definitely don't want to waste all your employees' time. So be prepared, even though it's a 5-minute huddle, have it jam-packed with information that's going to help every team member there. Don't waste, one team member's time when the message was for 90% of the team members, and then you have 10% that it wasn't for. If that 10% doesn't need that message, don't bring them to the meeting. But hopefully you'll have at least one item for that 10% because you want everyone together. Lastly, I think most important thing you need to understand with managing the different generations is we all like recognition. Some like it a lot and very often. Some like it just once a week, once a month, once a quarter. But create a recognition program. If your company has one, use that recognition program and maybe improve it if you feel you need to, if there's things that are missing. But simple things go a long way. So outside of the large recognition, like buying gift cards and giving them a day off, simple things like a pat on the back, saying great job, or I love doing email congratulations, sending an email out to the whole store. Hey, this employee, just rocked it on average transaction size. John Smith got the most items per transaction out of everyone here. I want to congratulate him for a job well done. And let's see if we can get someone let's see if someone's up to, see if someone's willing to compete against John see if they can beat him this week. Just simple things like that, call outs, good gestures are going to go a long way. You also want to recognize some people don't like those public recognition, whether it's in an email or whether it's in a morning huddle like we discussed. So you'll find out some of those people that are like that, because if you do recognize them, they just were really upset about it afterwards and told you about it. So when you come across those employees, just privately recognize them. They're probably the ones that don't need recognition for everything that they do. So when they do something above and beyond, or they're just every week or every day, week over week, they just do a really good job. Maybe at the end of the month, sit down with them and say, look, Jenny, you are just doing an incredible job. I never have to thank you every day after you do your work. You just get in there, you get it done, and you do it right. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate you and your hard work. And by the way, here's a $5 gift card at Starbucks. I know it's not much, but I just wanted to give you something. I wanted to show you that I care and that I appreciate all of your hard work. That goes a long ways. It really does. So just to sum things up, again, baby boomers, they're competitive and they want to get paid for the exact work that they do. But you're not going to deal with many baby boomers in the workforce anymore, so keep that in mind. Maybe 1% of the workforce. I don't know the exact percent, but there's not many left in the workforce that you'll have to manage. Gen X, they're born between 1965 and 1977. They're skeptical. They're going to be harder. It's going to take longer to earn their trust. But once you do earn their trust, they're going to help you build a high-performance team They're going to help you accomplish your goals, and a lot of your high performers will be Gen Xers. Then we have the Gen Ys, your millennials, who were born 1978 or somewhere between 1978 and 1984 and later. They're all about teamwork. They're all about feedback. They're all about technology. They like the open work environment. They like collaboration. Some of them, will want 60-hour work weeks and that's all they want. And then some will want a 25-hour work week because their home life, what goes on, after work is more important than work, and they just want to make just enough to get by to pay their bills so they can do their fun activities and go after their passions and hobbies. And that's okay. You've got to understand those motivations. Lastly, you've got to, or two more things to summarize, keep your employees engaged. Learn what each individual is motivated by. Get them engaged by that. And then lastly, create a recognition program that really embraces hard work, that embraces going above and beyond the call of duty, that it embraces excellence. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, just something small like a $5 gift card. Do emails, do email recognition, do public recognition, do private recognition, and you are going to win. Thank you for watching this lesson. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next lesson. Thank you.